The neighborhood gym was buzzing with its usual noise, gloves pounding heavy bags, trainers shouting drills, and the rhythmic squeak of shoes on worn-out floors. But all of it quieted when Jamal the Hammer Harrison entered. He was the king of this place, a golden-gloved amateur who loved to taunt more than he loved to train. Swaggering with his crew, shirt half off and ego fully inflated, Jamal was in the mood to put on a show. That's when the door creaked open. In stepped an elderly black man in overalls and a young girl beside him. She was barely 14, with deep brown skin, thin arms, and quiet eyes. She wore a faded hoodie and clutched a worn gym bag. Her sneakers looked older than most of the boxers in the room. Jamal sneered. "Yo, is this take your grandkid to work day, or what?" Laughter rippled through the room. The old man didn't blink. He stepped forward and said, "She's here to train." Jamal tilted his head like he hadn't heard right. "She's what? Here? To train here?" He looked the girl up and down like she was a joke wrapped in cloth. "She know what a punch feels like. She'll find out." The man said, evenly placing the bag down and opening it. Jamal saw a golden opportunity. "Nah, let's make this interesting," he called out. "How about I give her a welcome match? 2 rounds, light sparring. I won't even charge you for the lesson." The crowd hooped. Phones came out. This was entertainment. The old man turned to the girl. "You ready, Lena?" She gave a small nod. No fear, just a calm readiness. She climbed into the ring, no hesitation. Jamal was already bouncing in place, showboating like he was prepping for a title bout. Lena stretched her gloves, eyes focused, silent as stone. No one knew her name. No one saw it coming. But within minutes, Lena Taylor would give them a moment they'd never forget. Jamal smirked as the bell rang, the kind of smirk you'd expect from a lion spotting a limping gazelle. He toyed with his gloves, bounced from foot to foot, and strutted toward the center of the ring. Lena, on the other hand, barely moved. She stood calmly, her gloves up, chin tucked just right, feet planted with precision. She even know how to move. Someone from the crowd snickered. Jamal opened with a lazy jab, not to land it, but to mock her. The punch sliced the air inches from her face, and Lena didn't flinch. No panic, no wide eyes, just calm, controlled breathing. Jamal chuckled, playing to the crowd like it was a comedy set. He stepped in again, threw a light right hook, another showy swing, and this time Lena moved. One quick pivot, barely a whisper of motion, but it left Jamal swinging at air. Before he could reset, pop, Lena's left jab tagged his ribs. The sound was soft, but the room stiffened. That wasn't an accident. Jamal's face twitched. "Okay," he muttered. "You got a little bite." He pushed forward with more speed, launching a double jab toward her head. Lena dipped under both with fluid ease, her body moving like water. She slipped to his left and gave him another tap, this time on the shoulder, not hard, just sharp enough to say, "I see everything you're doing." Now the laughter in the room turned to murmurs. Phones lowered, eyes focused. This wasn't a gimmick anymore. The girl had timing, poise, the kind that didn't come from random street fights or TikTok clips. She had training. Jamal gritted his teeth, suddenly annoyed. His jabs came faster now, his movement sharper. But Lena kept slipping, ducking, weaving like a shadow. Every time he missed, she answered with a light, precise strike. None of her punches were meant to hurt. Not yet, but each one said the same thing. "You're not as good as you think." And for the first time in his cocky career, Jamal, the Hammer, Harrison began to feel something foreign in the ring doubt. The girl he thought would cry and run was dancing around him like a ghost. And the crowd that once laughed with him, now they were watching her. Jamal's face was flushed, a mix of embarrassment and rising anger. The crowd that once cheered for his taunts was now dead silent, watching a 14-year-old girl outmaneuver the self-proclaimed king of the ring. His pride couldn't take it. He clenched his fists tighter and dropped the act. "No more games," he muttered. He charged in, this time not with showboating swings, but with real punches, fast, aggressive, and full of frustration. A hard left jab screamed toward Lena's face, followed by a looping right cross aimed at her temple. It was the kind of combo that usually forced opponents back or down. But Lena didn't flinch. She ducked beneath the jab, her body already turning before the cross came. With flawless footwork, she pivoted to Jamal's left and planted her feet. He was off balance, exposed for a split second, and she took it. Crack! Her right hand snapped forward like a bolt of lightning. It wasn't wild, wasn't reckless, it was perfect. It connected flush with Jamal's jaw, turning his head just enough for his balance to fail. His eyes widened in disbelief before his knees gave out. Thud! Jamal hit the mat. The gym gasped in unison. Time seemed to stop. Lena didn't celebrate. She stood still, gloves at her sides, her breathing steady. Her grandfather leaned on the ropes, watching quietly as if he expected this all along. Jamal lay on the canvas, not unconscious, but stunned. His hands pressed against the floor, as if trying to push away the shame soaking into it. He blinked, dazed. His ego, the thing he fought with more than his fists, had just taken the hardest hit of all. Around the ring, no one spoke. No one laughed. Then someone whispered, she dropped him with one punch. And just like that, phones came out. Cameras rolled. The moment captured, not because of the fall, but because of who had delivered it. A girl. A quiet, unknown girl with fire in her veins and the calm of a seasoned fighter. The arrogant boxer had set out to humiliate her. But her first punch didn't just shake him. It shook the entire arena. By the next morning, the video had exploded online. The caption read, "Young girl floors undefeated boxer with one punch." It spread like wildfire, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, drawing disbelief and admiration alike. In every frame, Lena's punch landed crisp and clean, her expression stoic, her control undeniable. But who was she? That question led curious viewers to the man who had stood in her corner, her grandfather, Samuel Taylor. A local sports journalist tracked him down at his modest home on the east side of town. When asked about Lena's training, the old man smiled softly, his eyes misting with pride. "She's been boxing since she was 7, he said. Taught her in our garage. Not for fame, but for focus." And then came the detail no one saw coming. Lena Taylor wasn't just any girl off the street. She was the daughter of Monica Taylor, the late Olympic gold medalist who had once been the pride of the nation. Monica had stunned the world with her speed, her power, and her grace before dying tragically in a car accident when Lena was just 10 years old. Monica was a lion in the ring, Samuel said, but she was a mother first. She made me promise before she passed to protect Lena from the noise, to teach her the discipline, not the spotlight. Suddenly, everything made sense. Lena's balance, her precision, her focus beyond her years. She hadn't just been sparring in a gym. She'd been carrying the legacy of a champion, carved from quiet sacrifice and daily grind. Back at the gym, Jamal avoided reporters. He claimed it was a lucky shot that he had slipped trying to save face. But no one was buying it. The punch was clean, the fall undeniable, and Lena's poise under pressure undeniable. Sponsors began calling. Youth programs reached out. Big names in boxing offered scholarships, training camps, endorsements. But Lena declined most of it. "I just want to keep training," she said simply when asked. She wasn't chasing the fame. She was the legacy. And now, the world finally knew her name. 2 weeks later, the gym was packed to the walls. The same dusty space where Lena Taylor had once entered unnoticed was now lit by camera crews, local reporters, and curious fans. Posters hung with her name beside Jamal's, and people whispered excitedly about the rematch. But Lena stood in the corner, lacing her gloves with the same calm that had stunned the world. Jamal, fueled by bruised pride and social media humiliation, had demanded a second fight. He claimed he wasn't ready the first time. He wanted a chance to prove the punch had been a fluke. But deep inside, even he felt the pressure. The world was watching. As the bell rang, Jamal came out fast. No more jokes. No more taunts. His movements were tighter, his punches cleaner. He landed a jab to Lena's arm and a glancing hook to her shoulder. The crowd cheered, hungry for his redemption. But Lena didn't flinch. She absorbed his energy like water against stone. With Every round, she peeled him apart, not with brute strength, but with patience and timing. She danced just outside his reach, countering his shots with stinging jabs, slicing through his defense like a scalpel. The audience was no longer watching a girl who could fight. They were watching a girl who owned the ring. Midway through the second round, Lena saw her moment. Jamal stepped forward with a desperate right hook, wide and heavy. Lena slipped beneath it like a whisper, planted her feet, and launched a blistering three-punch combo. Jab to the chest, hook to the temple, and finally the same crushing cross to the jaw. Crack! Jamal's head snapped back. His body stiffened. Then he collapsed like a dropped statue. The referee didn't even bother counting. It was over. The gym erupted. Reporters surged forward. Cameras flashed. But Lena didn't jump, didn't yell, didn't gloat. She walked to her grandfather at the ropes, her eyes steady. "You did good," Samuel said, resting a hand on her shoulder. And just like that, Lena Taylor, the girl once mocked, doubted, and dismissed, had sealed her place in history. Not just as the girl who knocked Jamal down, but as the fighter who stood tall in silence, with a mother's fire in her fists and a legacy reborn in her heart.